City Commission meeting today. This is Monday, August 13th. We'll have a roll call, please.
Mayor Ryan.
Here.
Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Hay.
Here.
Commissioner Hodges. Here. Commissioner Hopping.
Here. If you're able, would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Our agenda this evening includes an addition, 710. I understand it is posted, and maybe there are copies of the item in the boxes out there if you are interested in that particular item. Awards and proclamations? We have none. Citizens Forum. A Citizens Forum is an opportunity for anybody that wants to address the Commission to come forward, and feel free to do so at this time if you'd like.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is John Blanchard. I live at 1117 State Street. I had a couple things I wanted to just ask you about, and they both deal with transparency and public participation and the need and necessity to have fully engaged citizen participation in a lot of the decisions so that we have buy-in on some of the big things that we try to do. And to that, before I get to those two, I just want to let you know that I appreciate the step that you took to include the social service organizations in your city manager search process. I think that will go a long way to having the public feel involved and appreciated and part of that process. So thank you for that. The first thing I want to ask is, I'm sure that you all are aware that once the overhead structures came down on Santa Fe, that there was quite a bit of discussion on social media and through the Salina Journal, and of course, Commissioner Hodges had a survey of her own. I think that's one of those issues where I think the public would like to know if you intend to recognize that not everybody really thinks that those are a good idea, that the sample group was very small, and that the process for deciding that those were an item that was a have-to-have and not something that really went through the full survey process, and where people were given a choice of let's go without them. It was pretty much decided by OH&H that those overhead structures were a significant portion of the project. One thing I would like on that is that for Commissioner Hay, that during the process of approving this, the construction contract, you voted in favor of that, and I think that it would have been good if you had provided information to the public and your fellow commissioners that you were actually a member of the Downtown Streetscape Visioning Committee. So I would hope that you would somehow acknowledge that and let folks know that don't agree with it going up fully why you feel like that is an important part of this project. I will leave it at that. I had a question concerning the centerfire range retrofit, but if I'm to understand that that is coming up pretty soon on the agenda, I will reserve comment for that. Is that?
If by pretty soon you mean today, no, but...
No, I mean like within a week or two.
Yeah, staff's working on it, and just as soon as we have it prepared for further consideration, we'll be bringing it back.
Okay, then I will wait for that at that time, but I hope that some of those concerns will be addressed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mayor Ryan, I would like to respond to that question. When I was defeated in the election a couple of years ago, I did sit on the 2020 Vision Committee. and was part of the downtown, trying to figure out what we wanted for a downtown streetscape or trying to figure out what we were doing. So I was part of the 2020 Vision Committee. As soon as I started running for re-election, I stepped back from the 2020 Vision Committee, did not attend any more meetings, and dropped out completely when I was elected. So I have not attended a meeting or even been in contact with the 2020 Vision Committee since I became a commissioner for the city of Salina.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the commission?
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. So my name is Katie, and I'm from Argentina. She's Mary, and she's from Belgium, and we're with Up With People. So for everybody that doesn't know what Up With People is, it's an international nonprofit organization. It's a group of 100 students from 20 different countries, and they travel around the world. So they go 1 week to a new city or a new country, and they do community service in every place that they are. They live with host families, and they perform a show. So we're going to bring that cast of 100 students here in September 17th through the 24th. And we're looking for host families in the community that are willing to host them for a week. So that is September 17th through the 24th. That's host families that can provide breakfast and dinner, just a place to sleep, and transportation just for the place where they start their daily activities. And then we're also looking for events to promote our show and be able to show what Up With People is. So we're open up for suggestions and places in the community to be. And thank you.
So you're looking for community events to participate in? Did I?
Yes.
We had a little meeting, Jory and I, and I'm volunteering to be one of those families. And I think they're going to work with the river people and one of the cleanups, but they're looking for community projects like that they can get involved with. So.
Exactly.
We
We're
have
also working with Kansas Wesleyan University and Sacred Heart Junior and Senior High School, and a number of other nonprofits that are also helping, and different organizations in the area, like the Chamber of Commerce, Sunflower Bank, UMB Bank, and St. Francis Community Service Foundation. Looking forward to working with you all, and we're going to be here for 5 weeks, so we'll see you around.
Excited to have you in the community. Thanks for coming to address us.
Thank you so much.
Welcome to Salina. You may have said it and I missed it. If I did, I apologize. How many host homes are you looking for?
102.
Okay.
So that's a lot, but we're going to get there.
All right. Well, welcome.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, welcome to Salina. Anyone else like to address the commission? We'll move on to public hearings. Oh, sorry. Mr. Ritz.
Yes, I'm Ken Ritz from Points Unknown. We hope on this planet somewhere. You folks like packets?
Oh, we
So,
love packets. Would
just
you
love
like to give us a packet?
So, I will read these. That kind of brings you a little bit up to date on what goes on in the wild, wacky world of recycling here and abroad. With a long, colorful rundown on the largest recycler in the world, which is China. Used to be our largest customer until they shut our water off. So, and other crap that we sent them. So, anyhow, you can look at that, and I may return if I get my act sufficiently together with a little rundown at some point so you can see what we did for 4 years before the city went on its excursion, and why what we were doing was better, faster, cheaper, and easier. But anyway, couldn't be easier. But anyhow, that's that, and I will.
Thank you for dropping it off. Anyone else like to address the commission? Then we'll move on now to public hearings and items scheduled for a certain time.
Item 5.1, public hearing on the proposed 2019 budget. 5.1A, first reading ordinance number 18-10961, adopting and appropriating the 2019 annual budget.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. Debbie Pack, Director of Finance. This item is part of the required actions for the 2019 budget process. A is to conduct a public hearing on the proposed 2019 budget for the City of Salina, And B is to consider on first reading ordinance number 18-10961, adopting and appropriating the 2019 annual budget. Kansas state statute requires that a formal public hearing on the proposed budget be held and that a public notice be published at least 10 days prior to such hearing date. For the 2019 budget, one public hearing will be conducted today. The notice of public hearing was published in the Salina Journal on August 3rd, 2018, and included date, time, and location for the hearing, as well as established the maximum limits of the 2019 budget and the maximum amount of ad valorem property tax to be levied at 29 mills. The final proposed 2019 budget includes total expenditures net of transfers of $101,196,440. The comparable amount for 2018 net of transfers is $92,445,556. This increase is mostly attributable to the increases of expenditures in sanitation as they relate to the initiatives in recycling and collection, usage of fund balance in the sales tax capital fund, as well as the ongoing effort to increase the general fund balance to its target, which must be shown as an expense in the budget forms. The final proposed 2019 budget establishes a mill levy at 28.603 mills, which is 2.474 mill increase over the 2018 final mill levy of 26.129, and 1 mill increase from the 27.603 levied in 2016. This mill levy will allocate the following amounts. Taxes to the general fund would be $9,682,912, and taxes to the bond and interest fund would be $2,625,000 for a total of $12,307,912. Some of the issues we've dealt with is the total property values grew a slight 0.83%, with existing real property values showing a slight decrease in value of 0.03%, and new development adding 1.01% in assessed value. The delinquency rate of 0.61% is slightly lower than the last year's rate of 0.82%. As a result of state legislation exempting business machinery and equipment for personal property taxation, personal property values show an expected decline for 2019 of 12.36%. Personal property values, largely commercial and industrial, continue to fall from $10,663,031 for budget year 2018 to $9,345,390 for budget year 2019. Since its inception in 2016, the loss of tax revenue to the city of Salina has been over $800,000 by the state mandate, without offsetting rate adjustments being levied by the city of Salina. Restoration of fund balances to an appropriate level remains a priority. At the close of 2017, the general fund is anticipated to be $5.4 million, moving towards the target balance of $8.5 million. Assuming $500,000 of progress annually, the target balance could be attained in 2023, if not sooner. Authorized staffing is 479 full-time positions, up from 476 in 2018 due to reorganizations. Salary projections assume stable turnover and vacancy levels. Allowances have been made in the projections to accommodate normal merit considerations up to 3% and an overall pay plan adjustment of 2.5%. The comprehensive fee schedule has been reviewed and will be adjusted due to inflation and market pricing at an average of 2 to 3%. Sanitation fees are proposed to remain the same at $15.50 per month until the automated collection process is implemented in the spring of 2019, at which time the fees are proposed to increase to $20.25 or $22.25, depending on the size of the cart being used. Solid waste fees are proposed to increase from $34 to $34.50 to $35.50 per ton, which is 2.9%. The 2019 fee schedule does not include any new fees, and the adjustments for water and wastewater and the golf course rates will be deferred until later in the year. For further detail on budgetary issues, the Commission and/or public are referred to the issues and options and other materials discussed at the study sessions leading up to these budget actions. The fiscal note is the annual budget provides for the plan and authorization of resources for the operation of city services. In conformance with our strategic plan, we would meet goal number 3, that the city will provide the highest quality of services consistent with governing body direction, available resources, and staff commitment to quality. Our action item is to maintain a stable operating budget for the delivery of core public services. There are 2 actions required to proceed with the 2019 budget process. A is to conduct a public hearing to take comments from citizens on the proposed budget. B is to pass on first reading ordinance 18-10961. This ordinance will be considered for final passage at the regular commission meeting on August 20th, along with other legislative actions relating to the budget adoption. Additional options for your consideration could include amend the 2019 budget or postpone the consideration of ordinance 18-10961, which would then need to be approved on first and second reading on August 20th to meet the statutory imposed deadline for certification to the city clerk.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Ms. Pack?
I have one quick one. I'm not sure if it's for Ms. Pack or if it's for Mr. Scragg, but I just wondered where the 3 additional positions what departments were going to.
There was one position in development services, and there were some part-time positions in parks that were kind of reorganized into full-time positions is what there were.
Okay, thank you.
And I believe on the, when you were reading about the deduction in machinery, you said ours says since 2006, but it really was 2016 when that.
2006 is when it was put into place 10 years ago.
Right. You said 2016.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry, 2006 was actually when it was put into
well,
place, sorry.
okay.
That's correct.
We'll conduct a public hearing and to take comments from the citizens and consider the public hearing open now. Is there anyone that would like to comment on the budget?
Good afternoon again, John Blanchard, 1117 State Street. $90 million budget, you always seem to get so many people coming to the mic. It's always amazing. Anyway, I just have a quick question in regard, we're having a property tax increase at the beginning of the budget cycle. Mayor, you recommended a increase in the sales tax, and my quick question is do you all anticipate raising or making a proposal to place before the voters a referendum to raise the sales tax? Is my question number 1. And my question number 2 is, can someone address the unfunded pension liabilities, the amounts and what those are, both through the police and fire and then just the general capers one? Thanks.
I'll take the first one. That was just conversation, and it's mostly my conversation, but this commission hasn't discussed that as a group, but just recognized it as an option that was out there, but no traction on that.
Yeah, I'll try to take the second one, and Debbie can back me up here. But the reporting of the unfunded liabilities associated with pensions is a relatively new governmental accounting standards board requirement, and it's kind of a frustration, frankly, of a lot of municipalities in that participating in the capers system, it doesn't necessarily represent an actual unfunded liability of the city of Salina, but in the way that we have to report it, it can be a pretty daunting number, but it is a required reporting element. So it presumes an ongoing obligation as it relates to pension payments and capers payments as if they're ours when we participate in the capers and KP&F system. I mean, Debbie, I don't know if you have any additional clarification as it relates to that.
I would agree with that synopsis. I was just trying to find if I could find what that number was in the most current audit. I'm sure it was a staggering number, but I would agree that it's an unfunded pension liability that's required. The purpose is that they're trying to make our books look more like a private industries, in that the fact that some of those industries have those liabilities for retirement within their companies, and for government entities that liability really lies with the capers program. But we're required to show that in our individual statements.
Well, in fact, San Diego, Chicago, there are examples of other communities that are self-funded in terms of their pension system and their pension liabilities. With us participating in capers, we're not exactly in the same situation, but we still have instructions on how to take the capers liability and apply it to our situation and report that out.
But our contributions to capers, they're all current.
No,
That's-
yes, and
yes.
that unfunded liability is perspective out in the future on the premise of future retirees and that those payments, as if we had to make them rather than continue to participate in CAPERS.
I think we discussed that during the budgeting process. Once our payment's made, our liability for that year is
Correct, and those are made,
satisfied.
those are made as payrolls or as payroll is paid. So those are made biweekly to the CAPERS and KPNF fund. I haven't found that number yet, but I will say too, that number is calculated by an outside actuarial. We have that done every year, and they look at the numbers, they look at all of our participants, they look at life expectancies, they look at a lot of things to try to calculate those numbers, and it's done by an outside third party, and they give those numbers to the auditors that they can present those numbers. It's not something we create or the auditors create. There are people that specifically do that and give us those numbers based on the information about our plan and our employees.
And then not to drag out the conversation further, but CAPERS has shifted their program from a defined benefit approach where you're guaranteed a benefit over the remainder of your retirement to a defined contribution plan. So there's a break point in their system where the beneficiaries that get a defined benefit approach are going to work their way out of the system. So a defined contribution plan, that doesn't represent a liability at all, or at least an ongoing liability. So CAPERS is trying to address it in that way. They've issued bonds to fund some of that liability, and they continue to assure not only pension participants but cities that they're on top of it.
Thank you for the explanation. Anyone else who would like to address the commission on the budget? Bring it back up here for action. Is there further discussion, or is there a motion for the budget?
Mayor Ryan, I move we approve on first reading ordinance number 18-10961, adopting and appropriating the 2019 annual budget.
Second. Been moved and seconded. We approve the budget and ordinance number 18-10961. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That passes 4-0. We'll move to the consent agenda.
Item 6.1, approve the minutes of August 6, 2018. Item 6.2, award contract for the 9th Street Sidewalk Repairs, project number 80012, to Davis Concrete Construction in the amount of $57,154.83, with a $5,845.17 construction contingency.
Are there any items that any commissioner would like to remove for further questions or discussion? Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We approve the consent agenda 5-0. We'll move to 7.1.
Item 7.1, second reading ordinance number 18-10954, amending the future land use map of the Salina, Kansas comprehensive plan to change the future land use designation of property located on the west side of North Broadway Boulevard, north of Hickson Drive, from future commercial to future employment.
It's my understanding we have not had any conversation or communication on this item since the first reading. Is there anybody that would like to address 7.1 on second reading? Bring it back here to the commission for action.
Mayor Ryan, I move that we approve on second reading ordinance number 18-10954.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Could we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Hay?
Here.
Commissioner Hodges?
Aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Hoppick?
Aye.
Mayor Ryan?
Aye. That passes 4-0. 7.2.
Item 7.2, second reading ordinance number 18-10955, changing the zoning district classification from C4 heavy commercial to I2 light industrial on a 7.81 acre tract of land located on the west side of North Broadway Boulevard, north of Hickson Drive.
And this item as well, I understand there's been no communication since first reading. Is there anyone that would like to comment on second reading?
Just as a clarification, I think it's changing from C6.
C6.
C4 would be a downtown
Oh,
zone.
sorry, yeah. That's what it says. So if I just read that, sorry.
Thank you. like when I announce the vote 8-0. Can't lose track of those numbers sometimes. We'll bring it back up here for action. Is there a motion, please?
Mayor Ryan, I make a motion we approve ordinance number 18-10955.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Could we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Hay,
Aye.
Commissioner Hodges,
Aye.
Commissioner Hoppick,
Aye.
Mayor Ryan.
Aye. That passes 4-0. 7-3.
Item 7.3, second reading, ordinance number 18-10956, amending the future land use map of the Salina, Kansas Comprehensive Plan to clarify the boundary of the commercial land use area on the north side of East Pacific Avenue between Santa Fe Avenue and Front Street.
I believe we've also had no communication on this item since first reading. Is there anyone that would like to comment on second reading? There being none, we'll bring it here for action. Is there a motion?
Mayor Ryan, I move that we approve on second reading ordinance number 18-10956.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Could we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Hay,
Aye.
Commissioner Hodges,
Aye.
Commissioner Hoppick,
Aye.
Mayor Ryan.
Aye. That item passes 4-0. 7-4.
Item 7.4, second reading, ordinance number 18-10957, amending an existing PC3 planned shopping center district to allow a 28,800 square foot fenced-in outdoor storage area northwest of the building and a 3,905 square foot fenced-in outdoor storage area south of the western extra light building addressed as 1320 Armory Road.
No comment on this item since first reading. Is there anyone that would like to comment at second reading? There being none, we'll bring it here for action. Is there a motion?
Mayor Ryan, I move that we approve on second reading ordinance number 18-10957.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Could we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Hay,
Aye.
Commissioner Hodges,
Aye.
Commissioner Hoppick,
Aye.
Mayor Ryan.
Aye. Passes 4-0. 7-5.
Item 7.5, second reading ordinance number 18-10958, amending section 42-616 of Article 14, definitions by adding subsection C to language that establishes the sources that will be referenced to define words and terms that are not included in Article 14 definitions.
No communication since first reading. Is there anybody that would like to address on second reading? Being none, is there a motion to approve this item?
Mayor Ryan, I make a motion we approve ordinance number 18-10958.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. A roll call, please.
Commissioner Hay,
Aye.
Commissioner Hodges,
Aye.
Commissioner Hoppick,
Aye.
Mayor Ryan.
Aye. Passes 4-0. 7-6.
Item 7.6, second reading ordinance number 18-10959, amending Article 14 definitions by adding definitions for section 42-761.1 shooting range indoor and section 42-761.2 shooting range outdoor.
No communications on this item since first reading. Is there any comment on second reading? Back to the commission. Is there a motion to approve?
Mayor Ryan, I move we approve on second reading ordinance number 18-10959.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. A roll call, please.
Commissioner Hay,
Aye.
Commissioner Hodges,
Aye.
Commissioner Hoppick,
Aye.
Mayor Ryan.
Aye. Passes 4-0. 7-7.
Item 7.7, first reading ordinance number 18-10962, levying special assessments against certain lots and pieces of property to pay the cost of abatements of nuisances.
No communications to me on first reading. Do you have something additional for us?
This is first reading of ordinance 18-10962, levying special assessments against certain lots and pieces of property to pay the cost of abatements of nuisances. Throughout the year, notices or code violation and abatement orders are mailed to property owners notifying them that they are in violation of city codes pertaining to property maintenance. The typical process for most violations of Salina Municipal Code Chapter 31, property maintenance, includes the following steps. The code enforcement officer investigates and confirms that there's a code violation or violations. If the code violations are confirmed, a notice of violation is mailed to the deed owner or property owner by United States Postal Service certified mail. If staff is aware that a particular property is a rental property, the notice is also sent via regular mail to the tenant. The notice itemizes the violation, the related code sections, the action necessary to abate the violation, and the date by which the abatement must be completed. The notice also informs the property owner of their due process with regard to the right to request an extension of the compliance deadline and the right to file for an appeal. The notice informs the property owner that if they take no action by the deadline, the city has the authority to order an abatement, and the property owner is responsible for those abatement costs, including the administrative costs. The code enforcement officer waits until the deadline passes, typically the day following the deadline, and performs a follow-up inspection to confirm the status of the violation. Exception, a first grass weeds violation in a season will result in a notice. Any subsequent violations in the same season will result in a direct abatement by the city without further notice to the property owner. If the violation still exists, the code enforcement officer proceeds with an order for abatement, at which time we work directly with the city's abatement contractor. Once a contractor completes the ordered abatement and provides the required documentation to the city, the finance department sends the property owner by USPS certified mail a statement of cost and informs the owner that they have 30 days to pay those costs, and that if they do not pay them, the cost will be added to their taxes as a special assessment. If the cost of such removal or abatement and notice is not paid within the 30-day period, the cost shall be collected in the manner provided by Kansas Statute 12-1115 and amendments thereto, or shall be assessed and charged against the lot or parcel of ground on which the nuisance was located. If the cost is to be assessed, the city clerk at the time of certifying other taxes to the county clerk, which is due August 25th of each year, shall certify such costs, and the county clerk shall extend the same on the tax roll of the county against the lot or parcel of ground. And it shall not be collected by the county treasurer, or it should be shall be collected by the county treasurer and paid to the city as other city taxes are collected and paid. The city may pursue collection by levying a special assessment in the manner of KSA 12-1-115 and amendments thereto, but only until the full cost of any applicable interest has been paid in full. Ordinance 18-10962 details the amounts remaining due by tract and levies of an assessment against their property. The fiscal impact is attached as a report showing all the amounts billed, paid, and remaining due. The total amount billed was $31,097.26, of which $4,597.40 has been paid. The remaining amount to be assessed is $26,499.86. This certification covers all abatements that were finalized since the 2017 certification. Recommendation: staff has identified the following alternatives for City Commission's consideration. Number 1 is to approve ordinance number 18-10962, levying special assessments against certain lots and pieces of property to pay the cost of abatements and nuisances. 2 is to approve the ordinance 18-10962, levying special assessments against certain lots and pieces of property to pay the cost of abatement of nuisances with any modifications to the list as the City Commission feels are necessary. Or 3, decline to approve ordinance 18-10962 and deny levying special assessments against certain lots and pieces of property to pay the cost of abatement of nuisances. If the City Commission declines to approve the ordinance, the cost to be assessed in the amount of $26,499.86 would not be levied against the properties and the cost would then default to the city's responsibility. I brought along my more informed cohorts if you have specific questions about any of the charges or anything like that.
Questions for staff? Thank you. Is there anybody from the public that would like to address this item? There are none. We'll bring it back up here for discussion or action.
Mayor Ryan, I move that we approve on first reading ordinance number 18-10962, levying special assessments against certain lots and pieces of property to pay the cost of abatement and nuisances.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item passes 4-0. Next item.
Item 7.8, first reading ordinance number 18-10963, levying special assessments against certain lots and pieces of property to pay the cost of the repair of sidewalks.
Thank you again. This first reading of ordinance 18-10963, levying special assessments against certain lots and pieces of property to pay the cost of repair of sidewalks. Sidewalk repair or replacement is the responsibility of the abutting property owner. When a sidewalk that is in need of repair or replacement is reported to the Public Works Department, city staff goes to the location and inspects the area of concern. Inadequate or unsafe sidewalks to travel requiring condemnation and reconstruction exhibit one or more of the following issues. For brick sidewalk defects, the bricks are missing, settled, or spalled, resulting in excessive cross slope, heaving, separation, cracking, etc. The remedy is to reset or replace. If there's excess cross slope that exceeds 5/8 inch per foot or greater measured with width of sidewalk, that remedy is to lift or replace. Heaving or settlements between panels, vertical deviation of the grade equal to 1.5 inches or more, the remedy is to lift, reset, or replace. Horizontal separation, that gaps equal to 1.5 inches or greater, and the remedy is to fill or replace. Linear cracking, a single panel that is cracked into more than 4 individual sections or in such a manner that the sidewalk constitutes a danger to the public. The remedy to that is to replace it. Missing pavement, a sidewalk or driveway with any section missing to the full depth. Remedy to that is to patch or replace. Surface defects or spalling or loose material over 33% of a single panel, including holes or depressions equal to greater than ½ inch in depth or diameter. The remedy is to patch or replace. Vegetative overgrowth, grass or landscaping encroaching onto, through 30% of the concrete or brick sidewalk area. The remedy is to remove the vegetation to full width of the sidewalk. And vertical separation is a trip hazard equal to 3/4 inch or greater. The remedy to that is to grind, cut, lift, or replace. If the sidewalk is deemed to be inadequate or unsafe, a notice to repair sidewalk letter is mailed to the abutting property owner. The property owner has 30 days to respond to the letter or request an additional 30-day extension. The property owner has a maximum of 60 days from the date of the receipt of the original notice to make repairs to the sidewalk. The abutting property owner may make the repairs to the sidewalk if it is an owner-occupied residence, or make arrangements for a contractor to repair the sidewalk. If the sidewalk is not repaired by the abutting property owner within the time specified, Public Works staff will make arrangements for the repairs to be made. After the work is completed, the city clerk's office will invoice the property owner for the repairs plus an administrative fee. If the property owner does not pay the entire invoiced amount, the unpaid balance will be assessed to the abutting owner's property tax with a charged interest rate of 4% and assessed over the next 5 years in equal payments. The attached ordinance provides for the levying of the cost of repair as a special assessment to Salina County Clerk. The proposed ordinance would levy a total of $6,056.70 to the tax rolls. Staff has identified the following alternatives for City Commission. Approve Ordinance 18-10963, levying special assessments against certain lots and pieces of property to pay the cost of the repair of sidewalks. Approve Ordinance 18-10963, levying special assessments against certain lots and pieces of property to pay cost of repair of sidewalks with any modifications to the list as the City Commission feels necessary, or to decline to approve the Ordinance 18-10963 and deny levying special assessments against certain lots and pieces of property to pay the cost of repair of sidewalks. If the City Commission declines to approve the ordinance, the cost to be assessed in the amount of $6,056.70 would not be levied against the properties, and the cost would then default to the city's responsibility.
Questions for Ms. Pack?
The repairs that are done, are these done by city staff, or is this put out to bid?
Bid.
Bid.
I told everybody. That was my first guess.
Okay.
Kind of sounded like an engineer there, didn't I?
Yeah, I noticed one of them was fairly substantial, at 4,500. So.
Other questions?
Thank you.
Dan, do we happen to know the unit quantities of that $4,500 item? I assume that was quite a bit of sidewalk.
Dan has all the detail information.
Yeah, the sidewalk in reference to the $4,500 item was a corner lot, so both sides were in
Okay.
bad shape.
I was trying to figure out how we get, with the 81.5-foot frontage, that became 4,500, so that makes more sense.
Yeah, that's the corner, and it was a demolition of structure, and the sidewalk was bad as well. Any other questions on that one? Thank you.
Might be a foolish question, but it's hard for me to interpret the location when I see the legal track numbers on there. Would it be worthwhile to ask addresses for things like this in the future, or a general indication of the location? I typically go and look for things like that when I see the listings.
I don't see why not. It was hard for me to figure out where they were too before today's meeting. So it's, but I don't know legally how the assessments work. I don't know if they go to an address or if they
No,
go
they
to a
go to-
track number.
They get applied by legal.
By legal.
But
Okay.
regardless of that, it's not an unreasonable request
Yeah.
that we
Just to
provide
add
you the
it.
addresses
Yeah.
and report it to you. We
At the
can
end of it,
certainly
just
do
put
that.
also known as and put the street address
Okay.
would be nice. That would,
Sure, we can do that.
you can always look them up.
Right, Shandy? Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody in the gallery that would like to address 7.8? There being none, we'll bring it back to the commission. Is there action on this?
Mayor Ryan, I move that we approve on first reading ordinance number 18-10963.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 4-0. 7.9.
Item 7.9, first reading ordinance number 18-10964, approving the Feast on the Fae as a special event and authorizing the sale, possession, and consumption of alcoholic liquor within the boundaries of barricaded public areas at such event.
Staff report. Just give you a bit of a background on this. In 2010, the Kansas State Legislature approved Amendment Section 41-719 to the Liquor Control Act, and this deals with the consumption of alcohol in public. The amendment allows the consumption of alcohol at a special event when held in public streets, alleys, roadways, sidewalks, highways, closed to motor vehicles when temporary liquor permits have been issued for that said special event. Currently, temporary permits are issued by the Director of Alcohol Beverages and are typically limited to 4 permits, temporary permits per year for those establishments not with a drinking license. But there is a special provision for special events as well, provided these events have been approved by the local governing body. That's where we come in. The legislative amendment defines a special event as picnic, bazaar, festival, or other similar community gatherings which have been approved by ordinance by the local governing body or the city where the event is being held. There are several specifics for how the event must be marked off and must be applied for. The boundaries of such special event have to be clearly marked by signs, posted maps, and other means which identify the area in which the alcohol is being consumed. Examples of those are in the packet. The law allows drinking establishments that are adjacent to or within the licensed premise of the special event to request the drinking establishment license permit be extended to make those part of the licensed permit event area. It does prohibit, if approved from the state's perspective, removing any alcoholic liquor from inside the boundaries of the special event, and it also prevents possessing or consuming alcohol in the special event area that was not sold by the permit holder. In August of 2012, the City Commission passed Ordinance 12-10652, providing for the issuance of special event temporary permits for the sale and consumption of alcohol, liquor on public streets, alleys, roadways, and adjoining sidewalks. Also in August of 2012, the City Commission adopted Resolution 12-6931, providing the governing body and the city manager with guidelines for the consideration of these applications associated with special events and permission of alcohol consumption. Per Salina Code, no person shall be able to drink or consume alcohol on a public street, alley, roadway, highway, or inside vehicles while in public streets, alleys, roadways, highways, except that the alcoholic beverage can be consumed at a special event held in a public street, alley, sidewalk. The list goes on. I think we've got this. Provided that such public street, alley, roadway is closed to motor vehicle traffic by a governing body, a written request for such consumption and possession of alcohol liquor at such special event has been made to the governing body on an application form provided to the city, based upon the information contained in the written application that the special event is reviewed and approved by the governing body by ordinance on the basis of criteria established by resolution of the governing body with or without conditions, and a special event temporary permit has been issued for the special event pursuant to state law. Your applicant in this case is Local Food Works Foundation. They submitted a special events permit application, an application for alcoholic beverage special event retail permitting, an amplified sound permit application for Feast on the Fae, an event scheduled to take place Saturday, September 15th, 2018. Only the special event retailer permit requires the City Commission's approval. But as part of our special event processing, we try to bundle these all together to make it easier for the applicants. The event will, like I said, be held on September 15th, 2018. The setup will begin around 2:30 p.m. with the event and beverages, alcoholic beverages being served from 4:30 to 8 p.m. and the event teardown happening from 8 to 10. The purpose of this is to raise awareness for local foods, farms, and to provide entertainment in downtown Salina. As part of this review process for the application was submitted to Salina Downtown Inc. for a 5-day review period in which they shared it with their SDI members. We received a couple direct comments from merchants, and we were able to work with the applicant on those and just address scheduling or parking and some of those types of questions. But we did hear back from SDI, and there was no, they formally approved of the event and are recommending it. Local Food Works Foundation is requesting that the governing body approve an ordinance identifying Feast on the Fae for Saturday, September 15th, 2018 as a special event and authorizing the sale of possession and consumption of alcohol liquor within the barricades of the public area at the event. This area will be clearly marked, signs and maps will be posted, which means the responsibility identified in the area with the alcohol liquor will be possessed and consumed at such an event. Staff has identified the following alternatives for the City Commission's consideration. One is to approve ordinance number 18-1096 as a special event and authorizing the sale, possession, and consumption of alcoholic liquor within the barricaded area proposed on North Santa Fe Avenue during the event. Two, approve ordinance number 18-10964, approving Feast on the Fae as a special event with any modifications to the location, size, or date and time of the proposed event. Or three, to decline approval of ordinance 18-10964 and deny the approval of the proposed special event permit. Thanks.
Questions for Ms. Driscoll?
And I do think somebody from Feast on the Fae is here if there are any questions as well.
And I would add, we've got a little bit of late breaking news that I'm not sure Warren's aware of. It's minor. There's been a recognition that the insurance we've been provided doesn't include the city as an additional insured, but we're in the process of getting that worked out, so we should be able to resolve it between first and second reading. In this particular instance, we're wanting to be named as an additional insured. Ironically, we're going to be talking about that same scenario in reverse with the next item on the agenda.
Questions for staff?
I guess the one why such a small area? I mean, you show the fenced or roped off event area. If it's going to be a Feast on Fae, why is it so small?
James Bowden, 139 South 10th. I'm the chair for Feast on the Fae, and we're only having it for approximately 200 people, and so we'll have the area set out for that number of people. We won't need more than that. So.
And this is more of a sit-down meal, correct? Than it's not like a roaming like you've seen before with the St. Patty's Day stuff. This is all in one location. It's a sit-down meal, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. A little easier to control.
And what year is this for Feast on the Fae? It's such a wonderful wonderful event. Is this like the third year?
This is the third year. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
This year we're attempting to create a grant to support the local food system as well. So it's pretty exciting. So.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good work.
Thank you. Anyone from the public like to address this item? Bring it back up here for action.
Mayor Ryan, I move that we approve on first reading ordinance number 18-10964, approving the Feast on the Fae as a special event and authorizing the sale, possession, and consumption of alcoholic liquor within the boundaries of barricaded public areas at such event.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 4-0. We'll move on to 710, which I once again will point out it was added to the agenda this evening, the new addition.
Item 7.10, resolution number 18-7591, authorizing the mayor to execute a second addendum to construction contract number 70012 with Smoky Hill LLC.
Mr. Kowash?
We continue to accomplish work on the Santa Fe project. We will be beginning work on the sidewalk vaults soon, and we have been negotiating license agreements for the closure of many of those and for a few of them to remain. During those negotiations, a few legal type things have came up, and we've asked for an addendum last week to talk about indemnification language, and a similar situation came up this week. As far as, much like the last item, the owner has asked to be named as an additional insured. So Greg, I'll kick it over to him maybe to explain a little bit more about that, but it was done very quickly because we are wanting to begin some of that work soon on the projects.
Thank you. Mr. Krawatch is correct. You'll recall last week you addressed the first addendum to the construction contract, which was in response to a request of one of the owners of the vaults that will be closed. And we took care of that, and you also authorized the license agreement with the Stiefel Theater. They too would have the benefit of that indemnification agreement, and as they examined that, made the request that they also be named as an additional insured. Mr. Kowach and his staff pursued that with the general contractor, and everybody's been extremely cooperative in this whole process. Just this afternoon, we received the certificate that was evidence that the Stiefel had been added as an additional insured. But when we saw the language, we recognized that we needed to come back to you and move into action. It indicated that they would be shown as or included as an additional insured when required by written contract as it respected the general liability coverage. Well, we knew that we couldn't go back to the Stiefel and say, well, yes, you're an additional insured, when in fact that condition was there, that it be included as one of the obligations under the contract. That's what prompts what you have before you, which is a proposed second addendum. It's characterized as an addendum because it is providing strictly additional language, not modifying any existing language. You'll recognize in that it looks very similar to the first addendum. Same lead-in language. The first time you really see any difference, other than the reference to second, is when you get down to recital F that acknowledges the fact that the first addendum was put in place to address the indemnification, and that under G, we're now wanting to further supplement it to respond to the request for the additional insured status that under this approach would relate to the Stiefel and then also to the others. What it simply does in the operative language, excuse me, is under paragraph or section 2 of the second addendum, where the contractor, as was required under the certificate, is committing to the fact that the owners would qualify and be named as additional insureds. And the language of the, excuse me, the language of the certificate said, as respects to general liability coverage, that's what prompts that language. So it's simply requiring that the owners will qualify and be named as additional insureds as respects the contractor's general liability coverage, and B just indicates that a certificate to that effect would be provided. So that will satisfy the condition under the certificate that enables the Stiefel and the other owners to be included and meets the condition preceding to there being additional insureds. Mr. Kowach has had, I believe, conversations with the general contractor. We think we're all on track in terms of getting everybody taken care of. And again, they've been very cooperative, as has their insurance carrier. And it was just a matter of having to take that additional step and do so once we saw that certificate this afternoon. So, thank you.
And I would add that the need to add it to your agenda is a result of trying to keep the project moving, the contractor's schedule, and their desire to do this work just as soon as possible to stay on schedule.
Yeah, the contractor's been coordinating work, and they'd like to begin work next week because they do have a window of when there are not performances in the Stiefel, and they'll be able to not interrupt or interfere with fire exits. So.
Any questions, Commissioners? I appreciate the cooperation between the entities and, forthrightness of keeping things moving. Anyone from the public like to address this item? Bring it back up here for further discussion or action.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion we approve resolution number 18-7591, authorizing the mayor to execute a second addendum to the construction contract number 70012 between the city and Smoky Hill LLC.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 4-0. We have no development business. Is there other business?
I had one item under other business whenever it's appropriate.
Go ahead.
Thank you. In light of the comment made during Citizens Forum about the replacement of the crosswalk structures, after the article appeared in the Salina Journal, I did conduct a poll on my City Commission Facebook page, and over 1,000 people did respond to that poll. And I want to thank all of them for doing that. And just in an effort to acknowledge the feedback that I received, a pretty overwhelming majority, 86%, preferred the downtown landscape without a crosswalk structure, while 14% indicated that they preferred the proposed crosswalk structure. I have visited just very generally with staff, and I understand that it's not as simple as it appears. There's things with the development agreement that would need to be addressed and such, but what I'd like to do is, in acknowledgement of the great interest that's out there and the discussion and the fact that we now have the opportunity to take a look at our downtown without the crosswalk structures, if this is something that we could take another look at, say, at the meeting on the 27th, either as a discussion item or as an action item.
I'm, for one, not interested in doing that. I'm satisfied with the plan and the public input that was carefully solicited in the first go-round, so I don't think we should waste the time to back up.
Yeah, and one of the issues I have is I know that there was a poll done out there, and we like to talk about full disclosure, but I don't think I saw anywhere on there where there was a disclosure that there are lights within those that will enhance the downtown during the nighttime. So I think that was a fairly significant part. If you're talking about removing the crosswalks, it was not part of the discussion. So again, sometimes you get answers based on how you ask questions, and so I hate to start governing based on decisions we make, and again, I know any decision we make, there's going to be pros and cons, there's going to be discussion. I have a hard time going back after all the amount of work and time that was put in. I believe, and Mr. Scragg, you can answer this, but the crosswalks have been a part of the plan kind of from day one. Am I correct?
Yeah, I believe so. There was discussion early on about keep them or not. Also, there was discussion about renovate the existing structures, and that was kind of a more recent change just in terms of the cost estimate of renovation got so high compared to full replacement. But I think Jim may be able to speak more so to the timing of that OH&H's process. But as far as I know, it's that was a focal point of the conversation as we started that design process.
So as far as public input, when you were having the special meetings, they've always been a portion of the downtown renovations. Is that correct?
That's my understanding.
Well, as we discussed the scope with Ochsner, Heron, Olson Associates, when we took the handoff of information from Downtown 2020, there were concepts that included overhead structures. We interviewed design consultants and started off with a new one, and as part of that process, we wanted to reaffirm the information that was given to us, and we had several public meetings in the spring of 2017, and we did an online poll. And I know percentages are can say one thing, but then numbers kind of say another. Our online poll had 75% of the respondents, which we had almost 500 responses. 76% wanted either a new or refurbished structure. And so we entered into the contract with the consultant when we entered, because we had kind of the discovery phase and then a design contract. We did that in phases. We asked them to design either modified or new structures as part of their scope. So we paid design services. Again, every public meeting we showed concepts. We met with the design downtown design or artistic group here in town, and actually accepted input on the type of structure, the pattern, the Art Deco pattern, and the type of material. As far as the anodized aluminum, helped us actually select those items for the structure, and have been showing those same options and photographs at all the public meetings and in the pamphlets and the stuff that we have online. So we've moved forward with it. As far as where we are right now, because they were very expensive, we have been value engineering and looking at options on ways to maybe make those more affordable. And we've worked with our prime contractor and subcontractors, and even they've gotten quotes from other folks as far as the types of panels that we're putting on, the types of materials. And we have been able to negotiate some cost savings, a little over $100,000 out of the approximately $1.5 million that they are going to cost for 4 new structures. We just completed that last Friday, and we're in the process of needing to give them the authority to start fabrication. So we do not want to delay the project. So any decision that you folks, there is some urgency, and if you want to change, we need to either change now, or you're going to potentially delay the project, or if you change after we start fabrication, you will be buying stuff that we can't put up. So we're at that decision point. It's the hard part due later. So.
And I believe there's 4, correct? Didn't you say?
There will
and
be
the fourth
4
one's
new
going in
structures.
the 200 block of North Santa Fe.
Yes.
And where's that located at?
At the mid-block crossing.
Mid-block,
that's there
like
now.
the others.
Yep.
Okay.
And with respect to contracts, in January of last year, we entered into the development agreement, and the streetscape plan was an attachment. It was an agreed upon commitment on behalf of the city as an attachment. That plan was communicated to the Department of Commerce in terms of our downtown redevelopment plan. Then when we went out to bid as a commission, you had some very detailed deliberations about the scope of a contract award that you wanted to enter into, whether it was the $10 million plan or the $12 million plan, and actually chose to fund the entire project proactively, including the structures. So, yeah, I don't know. This is 4th, 5th, maybe 6th bite of this apple at this point.
And I do know and the reason I talked about the lighting is, I don't remember, it was a year and a half ago when the lights were added to the structures downtown.
Yes, the holiday, the Christmas lights were put up, additional lights were put up.
And we left them up. And
people really liked
the
lighting
and that's what I was going to say.
aspect,
I couldn't believe the number of individuals that originally didn't care, could have cared less about the crosswalks. Once the lights were added, they thought it really added something to the downtown streetscape during the night and during the evening. So that's part of why I think if we're, without them, it's kind of like driving down every other downtown you see or every other street. I think it has the opportunity to give us a little bit of a wow factor, and so I'm for keeping them.
Well, as a personal observation with respect to the lights, not scientific by any means, I think we had lights previously, but I think just the way that the lights were installed last year, being more systematic and geometric and organized, kind of contributed to that positive reaction. So that's just being more systematic about putting up Christmas lights. I don't know what to expect with what's proposed now.
And I feel we already made the decision, and I don't want to go back on the decision.
What's being done with the structures that you removed? Could they be repurposed in any way?
They came
Make a
down
bridge
quickly.
out of one of them?
They were disassembled quickly, cut up, and hauled to the local recycling firm just up the street.
Well, thank you very much to my fellow commissioners. I just thought it looked amazing without the structures, and I appreciate your indulgence in discussing this today.
Is there other business? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.